How you doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, yesterday we got to see a pretty strong performance from the Stormers up against the Scarlets, and they ended up beating them 34-0. But this wasn't the clear-cut game that it might have looked like on paper. So please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow, and let's get into it. So, although the Stormers came through with a pretty big win and kept the Scarlets out, it wasn't that convincing. Now, give me reason to explain. The Stormers were up against a subpar Scarlet side who actually ended up causing them quite a few problems. They had players like Ellis Mee, who ran very well. He carried very well, and I think he ended up beating 5 defenders himself. Marinus van der Merwe, he ended up getting, quite a few big carries under him, and again, he managed to carry very well. If you look at the stats, it does show that the Scarlets actually carried better and they carried more than what the Stormers did. The difference is that the Stormers were able to capitalize on more mistakes from the Scarlets. Now, the Stormers, they did make mistakes, and I feel that they made far too many mistakes and far too many unnecessary mistakes. Again, the difference is when it was time to break, they were found in open space. They used the likes of Sasha, which really came in handy, the likes of Damian Willemse. They had these players that could really change a game, and they kept it they kept it solid. Their forwards did their job, their backs did their job. But again, there were far too many mistakes. The Dragons found, they found a bit of space, but they were unable to capitalize on the mistakes that the Stormers were making. Now, the Stormers have had a strong start to the season so far. The Scarlets, not so much. I think this is now the second time already that they've been kept out and not gotten a single point on the board. So it definitely kind of does show where the Scarlets are leading. And they did seem toothless. They didn't seem like they have any bite, which I'm really hoping they will they will start finding their feet. But when you have things like I believe it's Plumtree who had the altercation with Evan Roos, where it was completely unnecessary. Now, yes, whether who provoked who, whatever ended up happening, Plumtree needs to know that he needs to control himself, because this is exactly what someone like Evan Roos will look to do. He will look to get under your skin, and he did so. The Scarlets had a very long night, and you could tell that they were frustrated. But when you do something like this, you need to know better, because what ended up happening, he ended up leaving his team with a man down, which already, when you are losing and you are struggling, you then go and put your team under even more pressure. That's not what should be done. They should be thinking better. They should be performing better. Now, yes, it is the Scarlets up against the Stormers. You got to take it with a pinch of salt. The Stormers have already racked up over 100 points in, just a couple games. So they are attacking very well, and they've only conceded less than 10 points so far. So it is still early in the season, but again, this kind of shows the way the Stormers are, the way that their season is shaping up so far. They are playing well, especially now that they're getting their Springboks back. It is definitely helping. Ben Jason Dixon, he's an absolute monster. I believe he ended up getting himself a yellow as well, but it was kept to a minimum. And the Stormers did that very well. They put in, they put in tries at important times. Imad Khan, I thought he played absolutely brilliantly, and he finished off the game. And honestly, the Stormers are creating such a presence, and they're playing such beautiful rugby. And the way Evan Roos is playing is just, he's lighting the URC up on fire so far, because this guy cannot stop scoring. I think he's in one of those mindsets where he's like, look, whatever differences I might have with Russie, I am going to play so well. He has no choice but to pick me. That he has no choice but to have me in contention for a position with Jasper Wiese or anywhere along the back row. Evan Roos is really performing his socks off, and he deserves it. The way he's playing so far, amazing. Hopefully he doesn't get an injury, because I want to see these performances throughout the rest of the year. This is the kind of performances that can win you games. And when you start off with a try early on, break the ice, get those points on the board, that is exactly what you want to be setting your team on the right foot for a victory. And that is exactly what he did. early gates, he ended up getting himself a try, and Sasha ended up converting it, putting them in the best possible position. Now, the first half, it was very back and forth. It was tight. It was that second half where things really started to break open. You started to see the fatigue in the Scarlets, and you started to see them really start to, wear down. They couldn't keep up with the Stormers' style of play, and they were ultimately played around and beaten. It was a good game, but the Stormers have a lot to work on. If they try to put in another performance like this up against a full-strength Leinster, a full-strength Glasgow, that's not going to go down well, right? We can take in consideration, all of these teams, but you got to take that a lot of the Lions are coming back. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens when someone like Leinster goes full bore and they get all of their their Lions back. Even today when Leinster play, they are playing some Lions, but not all of them. So they are no even near full strength, and we're going to see what damage they manage to put on the Sharks. My heart does tell me that another South African team is going to get a win, but this is Leinster we're talking about. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to adapt through the campaign, because the Stormers cannot make mistakes like this later on. Now it's a good time. They're finding any little holes, errors. This is the time for them to be making mistakes. So this is why I say they made mistakes. It wasn't an absolute masterclass. It wasn't a performance that they absolutely blew everyone out the water. There were mistakes. They were human, right? But there were a lot of learning points here that some points the Scarlets exposed. So it's gonna be a very, very long year, and the Stormers, I think they're gonna be up there. If they continue playing like this, and the players that they've had coming back, the recruitment that they've had, the performances of players like Evan Ruas, the form that Sasha's been in, the form that Damian Willems has been in, it's gonna be absolutely fantastic. So well done, 34-0, keeping the Scarlets out, but a lot needs to be worked on, and I'm ever hopeful to see a Stormers that are just going to kill it through the season. So please drop your thoughts in the comment section below, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.